Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists. I'm Will, and this is a public service announcement because we are on the eve of Mandalorian Season 3 dropping, and if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, you're going to be lost because the Book of Boba Fett is essentially Mandalorian Season 2.5. So in this video, I'm going to catch you up on what you might have missed. But before we dive in, let me cover a couple of things that are relevant from the end of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And that is Din taking off his helmet in order to say goodbye to Grogu when he's handing him off to Luke Skywalker for training, and also the fact that Din acquires the Darksaber, which is a blade that must be won in combat, but grants its wielder the right to rule Mandalore. So both of these things are going to come up. Now, getting back into the Book of Boba Fett, the story of actual what's going on with Boba isn't important for Mandalorian Season 3, at least we'll touch on maybe the parts that are. But essentially, in episode 5, the episode just starts and it's actually a full Mandalorian episode. We pick up with Mando on a bounty. He completes the bounty and he returns to Glavis Ringworld, where the Mandalorian armorer and what's remaining of this sect of Mandalorians is basically hiding out and establishing a new base, if you will. Din comes and shows her the Darksaber and learns about exactly what it means, and he also brings the Beskar staff that he got from Ahsoka in Season 2. That gets melted down, and he actually has some armor made for Grogu because he wants to go visit Grogu, check in on how he's doing, and give him this armor as he is a foundling of the Mandalorians. While he's here, he is challenged by Paz Vizsla for the Darksaber because, again, it must be won in combat, and he wants it. So they have a one-on-one. Din wins, and afterwards, the armorer asks Din, "Have you ever removed your helmet?" And Din tells the truth that he has, and because of this, he must be banished from this Mandalorian sect. But he asks, "Is there any way that I can redeem myself?" And he is told that there is but one way. You must cleanse yourselves in the waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. So now we know that Din has this greater quest that we're probably going to see in Season 3. But for now, he wants to go visit Grogu and give him this armor that he made. So he travels to Tatooine to go get a ship. And they actually have this whole montage of rebuilding this ship. And while he's there, he is approached by Fennec Shand, who tells him that Boba is actually looking for some extra hired muscle if Mando's looking for work. Mando says he will gladly help free of charge because he owes them one, but first he's got to go visit an old friend. And that's where Chapter 5 ends, and we swap over to Chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. Now, in this episode, there is more than just Mandalorian stuff, so I'm only going to cover the Mando stuff. Mando travels to the planet where Luke and Grogu are, and Luke is in the process of building his Jedi school, of which Grogu is going to be the very first student. But when he arrives, he cannot find them. Instead, he runs into Ahsoka, who is also here. And she tells the Mandalorian that, hey, I know you've brought this armor, but it's only going to hurt Grogu if he sees you because he really misses you. And as is the Jedi way, Grogu cannot have these connections. So if he sees you, it's only going to make it that much harder for him to move on. So the Mandalorian, respecting this, leaves the armor with Ahsoka and asks her to give it to him, and he flies off back to Tatooine. Once there, he does make a quick pit stop in Freetown in order to try and recruit Cobb Vanth and the rest of his town to aid in the battle that Boba Fett is about to undertake. Meanwhile, on the planet, Luke is training Grogu, and we get a bit of a training montage, but it ultimately culminates in Luke presenting Grogu with a choice. He can either take the armor that the Mandalorian has brought him and return to that life, or he can stay and train as a Jedi and get his very first lightsaber. And that choice is actually the cliffhanger that we are left on for episode 6, which brings us right into chapter 7 of the Book of Boba Fett, which is actually its finale. And as such, it obviously is going to revolve mostly around the narrative that Boba has been building this season. The majority of this episode is a big climactic battle that, of course, Boba has recruited Mando to help in. So while that's going on, an X-Wing actually arrives to Pelimato's mechanics shop, and inside is none other than Grogu wearing his Mandalorian foundling armor. He has made his choice. So she gathers him up and tries to reunite him with Mando, who is currently in the middle of this battle. He, of course, is very surprised to see Grogu, and now not only does he have to fight in this battle, but he has to make sure that everyone stays safe. Again, without getting into the weeds on what happens during Boba Fett, this climactic battle ends. in no small part thanks to Grogu and his Force abilities, which have only grown since we last saw him in season 2. But with the conflict resolved, Mando and Grogu then go on their own way, and we are left to see what happens in Mando season 3. And with that, you're caught up on everything that you might have missed in the Book of Boba Fett. So I appreciate you guys checking out the channel, checking out this video. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments about what we might see here in season 3. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.